Welcome back to the Erik Ten Hag transfer special here on the Squawka Talker Podcast. We've discussed David De Gea and some of the potential replacements for United's long-standing custodian between the sticks. We're going to move on to right-backs now. Mo, this is a touchy subject for you because it involves your adopted son, Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Now, Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Diogo Dalot are the current options for Erik Ten Hag at right-back for Manchester United next season. Diogo Dalot arguably fits more of what Ten Hag would want, which probably means that Wan-Bissaka might be squeezed out. So I want to look at some of the options that are potentially on the table for Ten Hag. And following this Anana theme of bringing players from Ajax with him, we've got Nassar Moussaoui. So he was brilliant for Ajax under Ten Hag at right back. Progressive, front foot right back. Passes attempted per 90, 82 compared to 70 for Dalot. Passes completed, 86% compared to 81% for Diogo Dalot. Progressive carries per 90 minutes, 7.3 compared to 7.4 compared to 5.3, and progressive passes into the final third of the opposition, 6.5 compared to 4. Now, those numbers tell the story of a right-back that wants to get forward, wants to make a positive impact in the opposition half, maybe even in the opposition's defensive third, whereas Diogo Dalot doesn't really match up to that. And Aaron Wan-Bissaka, as we know, anyone that listened to the Wan-Bissaka fandom of a few weeks ago, is a very good one-on-one defensive fullback, but he maybe doesn't offer what Ten Hag wants from a right-back.
Yeah, no, he definitely doesn't. And, I love Wan-Bissaka, but it's probably curtains for him this summer because there will be a market for him because there are plenty of teams who do defend first. Like, for example, if he went to Atletico Madrid, he'd be amazing. Like, under Simeone, Wan-Bissaka would be fantastic in that back three. Forget about it with his lockdown defending. But for United, his time's probably over. Dalot is just pure 6 out of 10 every week. He's not bad, but he's not good either. I mean, everyone always goes on about how he defends the back post. Marcos Alonso was in an awful lot of space at Stamford Bridge on Wednesday to score that goal. Marcos Alonso had the freedom of Old Trafford back there, so Dalot is not the answer, except unless the question is, who is the Portuguese right-back that wears number 20 and plays for Man United? There's no other question he's the answer to, right? So you need to have a starter. Mazraoui is very, very good, right? He's phenomenal. He can do a bit of everything. He's been linked with about every club under the sun, which is why I think it might be hard for United to get him, if it's true. Because unless he's really enamored with Ten Hag and really wants to continue working with him, like he's been linked with Bayern Munich, he's been linked with Barcelona, he's been linked with lots of clubs. Honestly, if you had a choice between living in Manchester, living in Barcelona, working for Xavi, playing in that system, or playing for Bayern Munich, working with Julian Nagelsmann, playing for one of the biggest clubs in the world, winning titles every year, or playing for Man United, where it's going to be a hard slog to turn it around, what would you pick, realistically? So I don't think Mazraoui is necessarily a viable... I mean, it's something they should go for, but they need to look at alternatives. I've got a couple here that aren't... Mauro Jr. is another one. He's at PSV, another right-back. Also, Serginho Dest, also at Barcelona. May or may not be out of favour with Xavi. We don't really know. It's hard to tell. But those two are young right backs with talent, same sort of profile as Mazraoui. They're not as rounded as Mazraoui, right? Mazraoui does almost everything you want as a fullback, right? So where like Dest, for example, has the dribble, has the take-ons, has the expected assist, touches in the opposition's box, gets forward a lot, but isn't as potent of a dribbler, isn't as potent of a tackler. And then Mauro Jr., same sort of thing, right? He's got a similar profile but it's not quite as developed. There's another one also, Petar Stojanovic at Empoli. He's very good. He's 26, he's a bit older, he's 26, but he's got a much more rounded Mazraoui-like profile. So I think he could be someone they could look at and maybe think, maybe we can get this guy in and he could come in and do a job. He's not very fancy player, Slovenia international. So he wouldn't cost as much, I would imagine. He could be quite a good budget option, but they do need a right back that can actually play the ball, advance the ball, pass the ball, and do everything. Maybe there's also Ethan Laird from the youth team as well, to be fair. There's options.
There's a Premier League option, James, that I want to ask you about, and he kind of gets forgotten because England are so blessed with fantastic right-backs at the moment. Trent Alexander-Arnold, Reece James, Kyle Walker, Kieran Trippier. Tariq Lamptey, he's only 21, but he is still making massive strides to catch up with what's an all-star list of right-backs for England at the moment. And he's in a similar position to Mazraoui in terms of the best stuff he does is in the opposition's halves. And some of his big numbers are better than the average midfielder in the Premier League this season. Shot creating actions, 2.9 per 90 minutes. That's better than many Premier League midfielders, and progressive carries per games 9.2. So that's more than one every 10 minutes. So almost 9 to 10 times a game, he is breaking past his opposition fullback and creating something. He is young. There is the defensive side of his game to maybe be improved. He's operating under Graham Potter, who's a fantastic coach at Brighton. Could he be an option? Maybe not necessarily right now, but longer term, another season or maybe a little bit longer at Brighton for Manchester United?
He's certainly a very exciting player. I've seen him a few times this season. And he's the sort of player who would get fans off their seats. It'd also be a bit of a statement sort of signing in terms of the type of football United would be looking to play as well, to get someone who's so exciting going forward. That would be the kind of, I suppose, interesting, imaginative signing maybe United fans would like to see them do a bit more of under a new manager. Instead of, I mean, look, we know all about the 804 right backs that they looked at before signing Wan-Bissaka, and somehow missed Kieran Trippier on that. I still think that was such a huge mistake, and not only once. Letting him go to Atletico was one thing, and then letting him come back to Newcastle was another. I just can't believe they didn't move for him. I think he would have been a quality signing, would have solved that issue for a good 3 years, let's say. But yeah, that would be interesting. I think that's what United fans would like to see a bit more of from them. Obviously, look, as a club, the fans love to see the huge money signings and the superstars come. But certainly, if you look in recent years, that just has not worked out at all. And maybe a couple more left field types. And given that they've got a coach now who really likes improving players as well, it would be, I'm thinking of an example like Andy Robertson when he went to Liverpool. He wasn't on. I don't remember many people talking about, he's the next superstar fullback, and even to an extent, Jota as well. Wolves fans knew what a good player he was, but I don't think anyone thought he was going to be a star for Liverpool. Those sort of signings where there's clearly evidence that they're suited to this football and that they've got a lot of talent, and then get them in with a top quality coach who can actually get the best out of them. I think United fans would love to see a bit of that, and we really haven't seen much of that over the past, since Fergie left, really.
Before we grab a break, Mo, I just want to ask you on the right-back situation, bombing on right-backs, playing as inverted midfielders, creating chances, creating goals is massively in vogue in the Premier League and right the way across Europe at the moment. Do you think that's the direction that United should be moving in under Ten Hag, or do you think, to be a bit more rudimentary about it, they need a more defensively minded, as James said, a Kieran Trippier mould right-back, and then look to build from there as they take steps back towards becoming a title challenger and a Champions League force?
They need whatever right back Ten Hag wants, in the sense of whatever profile he asks for, because he's the boss. And I think, like James says, you want to build a team, an exciting team, a fun team. So, like he used Andy Robson, Diogo Jota as a great examples. Those guys worked at Liverpool because Klopp has a very defined idea of how to play. Now he changes it every now and again; it's not the same thing all the time, but he has a defined idea of how to play, a defined system of how to play, and those players fit that system. Like Jota had that sort of Sadio Mane-esque hand in glove fit where you think, okay, he can become world class playing for this club. If he goes to another club, he'd be very good. Would he be quite this good? I'm not sure. Right? His system elevates him. Arsene Wenger was king at this back in the day, 20 years ago. Arsenal would always have these players, these young players in the youth team in the EFL Cup would beat like professionals, like senior sides in Premier League, and be like, oh, they're amazing. And it wasn't that they weren't amazing; they were good. But what made them better was the fact that the Arsenal system was so defined; they all knew their roles perfectly, and they complemented their roles perfectly. Right? So, yeah, whatever Ten Hag wants, that's what he should get. That's what they should get. If he for some reason comes in and says, "I want a right back that can defend," then we've got Wan-Bissaka. If he comes in and says, "I want a right back that bombs on with real pace and real energy," you get Tariq Lamptey, you bring Ethan Laird in. If he says he want a crosser, you get him Kieran Trippier. Whatever he asks for, get him. Whatever he needs to make his style of football work, get him. Because that's what United need to make us to have a system, a set style of play, and to recruit players that fit that mold. That's what literally every big club does now. Every big club has an identity, or unless you're Real Madrid, but Real Madrid is special. That no one can be Real Madrid. Everyone has an identity. Everyone has a way of playing. So they're signed to fit that way of playing. United need to get with that program, basically.